guys, welcome back to the channel. It's actually been a very long time, but I'm hoping since all of the construction is done that we'll have a lot more videos coming out your way.
Yes, I did cut all of my hair off. It's wet right now, but you'll see it when it's dry next week.
I just don't have time to wait for that today. We gotta get this video out already. It's been
months.
What did we do today? I'm sure you can tell by the thumbnail that it's a doll. Let me start off this journey. Why did I care so much about making a doll for months and months and months and months? Let me show you. Let's get into it. So once upon a time there was some construction and it broke all of my dolls. Siren got broken on the elbow. Hair is covered in dust. Something random on her face. I can't remember if that was there before or not. My very first doll, oh no, look, scales are missing too. Ugh. My very first doll's fingers got broken off. Her head is completely broken off. Her hair was falling out. All because this is air dry clay and it can't stand up to anything. My fabric dolls, pretty much unharmed. So if I wanted to do a doll again that wasn't fabric, what the heck could I use? What would be strong enough to not break, but also soft enough to be sculpted? Well, remember when I made that mold, I put some plaster in and I got this girl. I don't really count her as a doll because her pieces were never put together, but the plaster that I tried to piece them with just kind of fell apart. What a perfect time to try out one of the many papier-mâché clay recipes I'd been looking at. This one called for joint compound, tissue paper, or I guess toilet paper, and glue and flour. As I was mixing it, I realized this is not a clay at all, and it will need more than a wire skeletal frame. It's gonna need fully sculpted pieces to coat, because this stuff is the texture
of tuna fish.
I guess this gives me the chance to try out a sculpting technique I had been noticing on Pinterest, where you cut out of cardstock or something even more sturdy your doll's profile, and then the front-facing form. You attach them as the frame and fill it in with clay. I used oil clay since I'm going to try this several more times and I wanted to reuse the same clay. Once all the pieces were sculpted and covered in some saran wrap, it was time to
apply the tuna fish.
And this was quite a feat. It kept sticking to my popsicle stick and making all of these sharp peaks that would be impossible to smooth out when they were dry. The dry pieces, as predicted, looked like hairy legs and bottoms and everything else that I had covered. It was pretty dang sturdy though. It was hard as a rock. This little head was hard as a rock. Now we just have to cut it open and take out the oil clay and saran wrap. I was trying to make these empty pieces so that I could string the body together, always in search of a way to make a ball jointed doll. The head came out pretty easily. It was very encouraging. I did notice right here that anywhere that this tuna fish touched the saran wrap, it ended up being smoother. I thought maybe on my next try I should put some saran wrap on the outside as well to smooth it out. But the congratulations were coming a little bit too early. Some of the other pieces didn't come out so cleanly and all of it was ripping. I had read that if I could put these pieces back together, I could cover them in joint compound and make them pretty smooth. So I tried to salvage every little bit that was getting ripped out so that I could maybe put this back together and possibly save it with a joint compound. Of course, being me, I thought, why do all those other steps when I can go straight to covering my form with the joint compound? Look how smooth it is. Oh, it's gonna be so great, right? I don't know why anybody would use that first tuna fish stuff and then put the compound on. Well, I'll show you why. The silicone box on the left are the oil dry clay pieces I just covered in compound. They're cracking, they're not staying on. I don't think I'd be able to put these back together. And the one on the right is where I had started to put some compound on the old pieces and then just thought that I didn't need to. So that head is already empty. I don't have to take anything out of it. But these other pieces are full and they crack just like one of those gummy candies that has the soft inside and the crispy outside. So this did not work at all. I'd had more to work with left over from those tuna pieces. I would have covered them and this may have turned out okay. But at this point, I was ready to just try something else.
What a mess.
After all that time and work, just making something out of regular paper mache seemed pretty easy. So let's start with our frame. We've got to make a doll's head. Let's measure it. Make sure she has a little twist at the bottom for a neck, and then don't forget the shoulders. We're gonna try and make them even, but it's so hard with wire. I'm doing my best here. Start bulking it up with some aluminum foil, get the joints placed. I'm gonna use some of this floral wire to make the joints movable. Also use the finer wire for the hands and the fingers, and I used hot glue to fill the hand in. I'm not sure why I did this. It probably would have actually been easier with aluminum foil, but I did do that. This is what I did. I've wrapped all the aluminum foil, or most of it, with some tape to start the smoothing process, and now I'm going to attach these little tiny hands. I hadn't really thought about how these were going to move, but I did make little hooks from the big metal and attach them with the smaller wire. Full torso is wrapped, upper arms, upper legs. I got a little neck. We're in business. I'm trying to keep the joints unwrapped so that they can move. Now we have to add the bottom of the legs and the feet. Starting to look like something and coming together faster than any other dolls I've made so far because there's no dry time. It's just wrapping and using small tools. I do need to wrap this other hand for fingers though. Let's get to that. Everything is now wrapped and it's time to make the actual paper mache. Just put in a handful of flour and some water. That is literally all you need. There are other recipes, but this one works just fine. Just make sure there aren't a lot of lumps when you start putting in your newspaper. Now comes the tedious part of actually wrapping the whole thing and making it a paper mache doll. I had to make the pieces very small so that they would overlap. But overall, it went on pretty smooth. It wasn't as difficult as I remembered it being, especially at this scale. And speaking of scale, these little tiny fingers would get too thick and bulky, I figured, with the aluminum foils, so I decided to wrap them with some thin thread and then cover that thread with the air dry clay, hoping that the thread will help keep it solid and not breakable. Paper mache doll is dry. Unfortunately, some of her joints got covered by the paper mache and they are crystallized in here, so I'm just gonna have to cut them out. Makes me nervous doing that right over the arm, like I might just chop the arm off. I'm just going to chop this and the other leg to give it movement. Apparently, I was deciding to use the smoothing capabilities of this joint compound again. Now that we had a more solid surface to put it on, I honestly didn't even remember that I did this until it was editing time. And now I realize why everything looked so melty and lumpy. I think I could have just left it without the joint compound on there. Once joint compound is dry, you should be able to use water and a finger to smooth out any imperfections, but if there are lumps, they will not come out, and your finger works better than a cloth. For the tiny details, I had to revert back to air dry clay. I just don't know what else I can use that's the only thing that sculpts. I tried to fill out any imperfections. I used it for the fingers with the thread underneath to try and bind, as you know. And then I'm gonna use it for the facial features.
First up is the wee little nose.
I kind of like just having the bulbous part of the nose, not the long piece that goes up into the forehead. I don't know why that's my preference, but I think it just looks super cute if that's the only part that's sticking out of the face. I mean, this is a pretty flat face, so a lot of these things are gonna end up sticking out. Sorry I couldn't get up any closer. I didn't realize when I was in my sculpting fugue that this was kind of too far away. I hope you can kind of see what's happening. Now we're doing the upper lip, and it's gonna be a full one, obviously. I have a look in mind that I'm going for. So once that is attached, I'm going to put the trademark buck teeth in there. Yes, I love them. I think they're absolutely freaking adorable. So I want them to be in this doll.
Oops, her teeth just fell out. Can't put those under the pillow for the tooth fairy.
Let's try and stick them back in. So difficult to make a teeny tiny gap, but so worth it. Now the bottom lip. Some of the paper mache dolls I looked at on Pinterest had the eyes carved out. I would like to try that sometime. This time I didn't think I'd be able to carve through all of this paper mache and also the joint compound because it gets kind of crumbly. For this doll, I'm gonna use the same technique that I used on the fabric dolls, which was making the glass eyes with these little, what are they called again? Cornichons? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm looking for placement. That looks like a pretty good spot, maybe a little lower. I'm just going to draw the iris onto a piece of paper and then glue the glass on top. I am using alcohol markers for the color and Poscas for the highlights, and I'm going to come back in with a dark blue pen to give the eye line. With the eyes hot glued on, I now am going to add the eyelids top and bottom using air dry clay because that's all I have to sculpt with right now. I know some of you are not going to agree with me, but I really think this face is absolutely adorable. But now, in order to make the dress that I want to make fit properly, we have to add some lady bits. I also added some ears off camera. I think it makes her look way cuter. She was a little alien-esque without the ears. Let's see what's next. Letting everything attach dry, and then we can start
painting.
Since she is a vampire, and I have done gray skin already on the siren, and white on the pony. Ooh, I didn't show that one, did I? She's okay. Nothing happened to her. Her design was a little flawed, so she can't stand up straight, but that's not her fault. Anyway, we're doing a light, like very soft lavender color for this vampire skin. I haven't done purple before. There's gonna be a lot of purple in this episode. It does end up looking good though, don't worry. Now that the skin is painted, it's time
to put on your face, girl.
Starting with some creepy lips. Gotta darken those and put some rings under this eye. Want to put on eyeliner via Posca, just to make these eyes look like they have ends to them. Once she has some eyebrows, she'll look less weird too, so let's make some out of some of this roving wool. It's black. Just run it through my fingers, shape it, and then I'm gonna glue it and it'll be done. So we want some hair to match these eyebrows. I'm going to use roving wool instead of yarn this time because it's just really thick and it's straighter than yarn. I just wanted it to be straight. I have a haircut in mind. P.S. This is the first video that I've made in my new workstation, so my head's gonna be popping in a lot. I was not aware that my head was right in the line of camera.
God, get out of the way.
They always look so unfortunate at this stage, just a big bald head. Sorry about this, lady, but you gotta start from the bottom and go up, otherwise the hair is in the way. It just doesn't work any other way. But I'm gonna do the rest off camera, I think. Sorry to leave you like this on camera. But not for long. I've got it all filled in. Time to put the backward folds of the part. This is a little tricky because there's no glue underneath this, so in theory it should just flip right back over, but it's staying kind of. I don't know, we might have to put a little more glue right here, and then we're gonna do the bangs next. I'm also gonna fold these over, so I glue the tip, put it upside down, and then fold it over the other way. I think maybe if I'd had an iron or something, this probably would have stayed down better. I end up having to cut it really short, but it looks cute like that. All right, let's start trimming this stuff up. The whole reason why I used felting wool instead of yarn this time is because I wanted a very straight hair and straight haircut. I wanted a blunt straight across the face for the bangs and then right at the neck level for the bottom of it. The bangs look pretty good. Let's see if we can get this bottom working. And with that, it's done. Finally, I can get her dressed. I'm trying to make a corset top here with teeny tiny beads and a little bit of silk. I did use a sheer material to make her a gathered shirt that's gonna go underneath it, and then she's gonna have a big full skirt. I'm using this bowl to trace out the size of the skirt, and then I'm going to use my rolling cutter, rotary cutter? I think that's what it's called, to make sure that they're all completely even though this bowl is going to move a little bit. And we have to make sure we don't have any frayed edges, especially on the silk, so we'll put some fray stop on the edges here. Now that we have created all the pieces, we're going to magically make them come together. Dress, bloomers, gathered waist, corset top, buttons. I will show you guys how to make doll clothes in another video. This one is already too long. So let's flip her over. She is ready, and now we just need some shoes. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to have one little close-up of her dress before we dive into making the shoes. Here is the pattern in the felt for the shoes, and here are the shoes. Now I just have to lace them. I picked gold because it looked better than the purple as a shoelace thread. I used some cheap black crafting foam for the soles and for the edges. If you want to know how to make shoes, you just need to go to the 3 cloth dolls video. I made some sneakers for all of them. I think I showed you how to do it on there. If not, it's going to be done a few more times. Don't worry. Guys, she's done. Check her out. Shoes. This whole thing made from scratch, from nothing. Fun, right? It's exciting, I think. And the hope is just that I'll get better and better. Right, maybe the hands won't look so goofy. I think I'm gonna try to stop attaching feet and hands because they just are too wobbly. Maybe keep them together. The hair that I used for this, the roving wool, actually stays where you put it, so I could flare it up and make it look like she was floating with her creepy eyes. That's it, guys. That's the whole video. Yes, it took me a very long time. I'm hoping the next one will come out a lot faster. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.